Right, like this one right here?
Yes, it should show you very shortly here. Because I hit go live on
Okay.
my end.
It says, I think it started.
All right, give it a second. You haven't started. I don't think we started the live stream itself yet, or we might have. I guess we'll find out very shortly. Yep, we just started. So let's go ahead and get into this. I'm going to go ahead and handle
Right.
all the stuff going on here. MisAnthro Pony and I, mostly, of course, this is MisAnthro's channel. We wanted to have a little discussion about the Cuties review he did and how he was dealing with the responses from Mr. Girl and from Black Anime Critic. So let's go ahead and talk about that now. MisAnthro Pony, what was it that got your attention about this subject specifically?
Okay, before we actually start, I want to make sure because last time we did a stream, I forgot about making sure that the audio input capture for my microphone was inserted, and I
Oh, I've
ended
got
up
you. I've got
linking
you.
my audio in late.
No, I've got you here. You're good to
So,
go. We can hear you just fine because again, I'm handling that on my end, so we're good to go.
just to be safe, if you can hear me, type you can hear me in the live chat.
Go ahead, chat. Let them know. It's gonna take them a little bit. Yep, Silver Fox says, or Silver Zionic says, we can hear you. So here's how this is going to work. We're going to talk about a couple of things concerning it. I'm going to be discussing with MisAnthro Pony some of the things he said in there. And if you guys have any questions for MisAnthro Pony, or you want to, ask direct questions to him or me or to anybody here, there is a server link in the description. Now, I want you to be aware, when you hop on that server, you'll have to go into stream waiting room, which is we can only do this via audio. We're going to do it only if you have a mic and everything else. If you go into stream waiting room, we will pull you in as you come. All right. So let's go ahead and get started here. MisAnthro Pony, in your video, first and foremost, I'd like to know what got your attention into making this. And
Actually, that noise.
that was me by accident. Sorry, I accidentally hit the wrong button. But go ahead. What got you into deciding to do this video?
So, here's the truth. Originally, I wasn't planning on talking about this movie because a lot of people had already been talking about it. Like, as I said before, at the beginning of the original video, I know that a lot of people have already talked about this, that have already got millions of views with hundreds of thousands of subscribers. So what could I possibly add to this conversation? So I feel like other people have already taken care of this. But then I saw Black Critic guy preparing to make his review that he was going to premiere, saying that it's not a bad film. And I will admit, it did not look very good. I was willing to give him the benefit of the doubt because he is a content creator that I had been following for a couple of years. And as I said, I haven't watched every single one of his videos, but I've seen enough to know that he's a modest content creator. He can put out good work when he wants to. So what exactly does he have to say about this movie? And then it actually aired. I got a glimpse of description of the video, and that was just a huge red flag for the disaster we were in for. And I kept watching this video, and I kept watching it, just trying to make sense of all the bullshit he was spewing. And then he ended it with the hate that this movie was getting was completely unwarranted. Like, he's saying that the negative reception to this movie was undeserved in spite of the obvious reasons as to why people were upset about. Like, are you that fucking F, yo? And I just unsubscribed from his channel right then and there. And I was thinking to myself, like, oh my god, like, you think you know a guy. Like, I really did like his content, and I still have some fond memories of the videos that I watched, but man, I just couldn't believe. So I figured maybe I feel like recently we had just gone through a situation involving helping somebody out.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like with my feelings towards helping out Emily combined with that video that I saw from Black Critic Guy and how he was, whether he meant to or not, enabling people like that by defending this movie. Maybe it was personal. Maybe I just feel like I had some things to say that others haven't said yet. But I have to admit, if it wasn't for Black Critic Guy's defense, I would not have made this video. Because I just didn't feel like it, because it really was a really difficult subject to talk about due to the weight of the subject matter.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like I can't just let this go unanswered. Like, someone has to explain what is wrong with Black Critic Guy's. Like, of all the people I was expecting to actually be stupid enough to defend this, I honestly thought he would be one of the last to do it. And I just couldn't believe I couldn't believe that this was actually real. So I guess it was because of Black Critic Guy, because I respected the guy for a long time, but there were so many horrifying implications behind all of these people making up excuses for this movie.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like I had to address this, and I thought it would help if I used Black Critic Guy's as a primary
jumping
what's
point?
The word main topic point to help explain what was wrong with defending this movie, because people are just so oblivious and they don't actually understand. Like, they don't understand why people are upset with this movie. Like, they say, oh, it's criticizing child sexualization. You don't criticize child sexualization by sexualizing kids and filming it.
Correct. That's what I want to get into here with you, first and foremost. You were talking about the legality of this film, and because I do know a bit about law, I would like to explain a couple things about this to you. When it comes to this type of content, the legal aspect you mentioned there, unfortunately, has a few caveats. Art's one of them. So that's why you don't see her getting locked up in the States. There's also the fact that it is a French film. It's an international film. And unfortunately, France's laws concerning stuff like this they're not good. There's a lot of child exploitation films, and I mean that in the exact way you're thinking, from France. They do not take this as seriously as, say, the States would. As far as
I had a feeling something like this would happen. You see, I'm sorry, am I interrupting anything?
No, it's fine. I'll elaborate a little bit later. Go ahead.
Well, you see, I had a feeling that the reason why no one has been arrested yet was, I feel like, aside from maybe I was just being really maybe it was because I was really angry. I don't know how legit this is, but I feel like people would have reacted very differently if Main Monodokoe was a white man instead of a black woman. But I have seen people saying that this film is supposed to be special just because it's by a black woman, Senegal heritage, and that's the only reason why no one has been arrested yet. But
no, I don't think that's accurate. Real quick, and I don't mean to interrupt you, but part of the problem here is, again, legality, varying different, literal countries is a problem when it comes to this. But there's also the fact that, to my recollection, the film is based on her life to an extent. I know about that. That's one of the main problems here. But what you did nail, and you nailed correctly and succinctly, is talking about how you have to handle these things. There's been plenty of examples of fiction that have addressed topics similar to this without being guilty of the same things that they're trying to talk about. And I think that was your main point, and that's a very good point to make, because what they did ultimately in getting these kids to audition and doing these subs on film, they were literally guilty of the same thing they were trying to say this was a critique of. And that is a problem. You have a bunch of kids sexualizing or getting sexualized, and parents allowing it, and the film industry allowing it, and that's a line that can't be crossed. Again, there's been plenty of film and media that have talked about these subjects. Pedophilia was specifically talked about, oddly enough, in old 80s cartoons like the real Ghostbusters. They had a character, a ghost called the Grundle. What the Grundle would do is he would get children to come out in the middle of the night to play, and ultimately infect them to also become Grundles later on. And that was a very, very a very unique way of talking about child molestation and how it can lead from one person being molested into becoming a molester. That was the entire point of that episode. And there are ways to do it, but this isn't how you do it. And I don't know much about Mr. Girl, because I know that Mr. Girl suffers from literal mental disorders. But Black Critic Guy, his argument was asinine. Media you can be questioned about it. You can let it bring up unpleasant topics, but he's missing the fact that children were still exploited here. Whether that be intentional or not, I don't know. But either way.
Yeah. You see, I wanted to add to the previous point before we moved forward. Aside from all of that other stuff, I had this idea that perhaps because this is a French film and because France has very different viewpoints on this, I think it's pretty plausible that this movie was barely scrapping by what is legal to film over there and what isn't. So I guess that's why it's not considered 100% a crime. However, regardless of how the French see this movie is in violation of multiple laws set by the DOS test of 1986.
Mm-hmm.
And this movie is breaking multiple U.S. laws.
Yes, and I don't know. I don't know how far it's going to get with the indictment from the state of Texas, which again is where I live. But I find it odd that Texas is even trying to indict them when we have so many other problems in the state we could deal with. I think that's something that has to be dealt with on a larger scale, because even if Texas does indict them, they really can't do anything about it. They'll ultimately wind up with like a giant fine or something.
I suppose I would like it to have more serious consequences than just a fine because of what actually happened.
Oh, I would too. I would like it all burned down to the ground and then torch the cinders and then salt the earth.
When you really take in all of the implications, like these kids are 11 years old. This is basically not even legal in France because of the age of consent that's set. Like, so many hours of directing these kids to, show themselves off in really inappropriate ways. And in all of that time, no one saw anything wrong with this.
Or they ignored it. Which is
they just thought
thing.
They thought, we're doing this in the name of art and raising awareness, so that makes it okay, which is not.
I agree. But let me see here. Let's go ahead and start pulling people in so we can talk to them, if that's all right with you. We have
I don't mind.
We have SGHG Ghost. Let's go ahead and move him in, and we can hear what he or she has to say. All right? Ghost, you're live with MisAnthro Pony and Lio Convoy. What would you like to discuss? Gotta unmute yourself.
Having trouble there?
We'll give him a few seconds to see if he can figure it out. All right, so I'll go ahead and move him out. Oh, there he is. Are you there?
Oops, sorry about that.
It's all right. All right, so what do you want to ask us, or what thoughts do you have about what's going on here?
Can you guys?
We can hear you.
Okay, so basically, I'm not really sure what I should say on the subject in general, but the- honestly, with cuties existing, oh, I'm sorry.
You're going to have to mute the live stream in the background because you're getting feedback on it.
Oh, sorry about that. Tease here.
Goodness.
All right, I'm ready.
You all right over there?
Yep.
All right, so
Is he having trouble?
I'm not really sure.
Oh yeah, just a little bit of trouble.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and move you back into the waiting room until you get that sorted. We're going to pull somebody else in, all right?
Okay.
All right. Let's see here. Let's move the Unshaken VA in here and see what we can get out of them. The Unshaken VA, you are live with MisAnthro Pony and Lio Convoy. What are your thoughts on the film and the review therein?
Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you just fine.
So here's my take on this. So first off, before this whole trash fire went down, I used to like Netflix. They have some pretty decent content on there. I was looking forward to a new musical that was supposed to be coming out. To save money, of course, I did cancel my Netflix, but then after seeing the crap they were pulling, I had to keep it canceled. Like, I can't in good conscience support a company that is going to allow this trash onto their platform, And a point that you brought up, MisAnthro, is that, like, if this was a white man directing this film, you can bet that it would be taken down. Like, that guy would be in jail right now. But, like, I think the reason, like, nobody has done anything is because, again, this is a diverse woman of color. And that's, like, it's sort of taboo to call out people of color for doing something that is this horrible. But that brings up another point too, because I'm trying to figure out, Disney and / Hulu have kind of done the same thing. So are we supposed to support them as well, or no?
My value is simply this: my hands are rated E for everyone.
Okay.
How about you?
Yeah,
Well,
go ahead.
that
Senator.
depends. What exactly is Disney and Hulu guilty of?
So apparently there's a show on Hulu, and I haven't seen it myself, but, like, it's a show on Hulu, and the basic premise is that it's a beauty pageant for drag kids, for, like, transgender kids doing, like, drag queen.
Oh shit.
And this is on Hulu, which, I mean, at first I thought, well, wait a minute, there's no way this is Disney. I mean, it's Disney. This is Disney we're talking about. I would expect it from, like, Netflix or HBO, because, they do more adult-centric content, but this is Disney. Like, there's no way that someone up at Disney approved this. Like, thankfully it's not on Disney Plus. There's not really anything bad on Disney Plus, but, like, it's still on Hulu, which is owned by Disney. So Disney is kind of complicit in this crime.
Doesn't surprise me. Disney does a lot of garbage things. Look who they hang out with. They give a lot of money to China, and China promotes them, so it doesn't surprise me. Not in the least bit.
Yeah, that wasn't good
And
either.
not to mention, they also thanked areas that they thanked concentration campsites or something like that, where they filmed the movie Mulan
I heard
2020.
about that. Yeah, I remember it was Mulan movie, right?
That is definitely some pretty scummy stuff, and that is why I do not have Disney Plus.
Yeah, I honestly, like, I think for Mulan though, like, that's a bit different, because, again, you still have to pay to buy that movie anyway. So it's like, if you were to have just a basic Disney Plus subscription, but not buy Mulan, are you still supporting Mulan, or like, because if you're not watching the movie or, like, paying to watch it?
Part of the issue when it comes down to stuff like that is ultimately, because of the type of world we live in, the size of the corporations, anything you pay for is ultimately going to be funding something terrible. And that's not me trying to be a nihilist. I'm far from one. That's just me being a realist. If I buy a Transformer, right? They're made in Vietnam. Vietnam may very well employ child labor. I don't know. You really don't know what your money goes to unless you break it down, and it'll drive you nuts. So my value is simply this: if I find out and it's something I can reasonably stop supporting and survive, that's what I'll do. That's how I operate. That's my personal value. With stuff like this, it's a very hard line because anybody who knows what I do online knows I'm not okay with child exploitation. So that's where my dividing line is. I don't know about MisAnthro Pony. Feel free to step in here anytime, MisAnthro.
Oh,
Originally, I never had an initial interest in Disney Plus because their current library is garbage. And knowing that you have to pay extra money to watch a movie that thanks concentration camps, that is just a big yikes from me, and it would make me uncomfortable with my Disney Plus subscription.
yeah. Well, like, so I didn't buy the movie. I did end up seeing it with some friends who had bought the movie, and that was sort of a way around it. But even then, this movie isn't that great either. Like, it's what I don't like about modern day Disney, and like this goes for a lot of companies that produce media nowadays. It's all capitalist. It's all about making money. There's not really any heart or soul put into this movie. It's just there to make a quick buck. And I wish that like films would. I wish that companies, if they were going to like revive a brand, would actually like put effort into it and like make a good story, and not get involved with Muslim concentration camps, because that's a big yikes.
I agree, but let's go ahead and move in somebody else. Thank you very much for your time here, the Unshaken VA. Let's go ahead and bring somebody else into the call. I'm gonna kick you
Have a
on.
good evening.
Gonna kick you on back.
Thank you for being a part of the show, dude.
Indeed. All right, so let's see here. Let me move in Maryland Wolves, and we'll have to sooner or later get to Coyote because he gets very antsy after a while. Maryland Wolves 110, thank you for joining the stream. You are now live with MisAnthro Pony and Lio Convoy. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, just want to make sure that I'm coming in clearly here.
You are?
All right.
You're coming in clearly enough.
Okay, thank you guys very much. We're here.
Yep.
That now, for mainly want to discuss or for keys, and very much so that the rule of things for when it comes to Cuties can be very much so very murky. That even though, of course, that we know that for what this movie is doing is very, very wrong. But however, that there are specific countries also too for the age of consent is very, very skewed. For instance, if we're in Japan, that there are many, many anime aboard that glorifies young women.
Mm-hmm.
They're out there for one, for instance, or just happens to be a fan of for all the right reasons there, so to speak, for being from the Monogatari series, where there's a main protagonist by the name of Koyomi Araragi. That even though that yes, that he is a bit of a pedo, but that's not for what he defines himself or by. That there are definitely very, very much so pedo moments that where Koyomi Araragi has done.
Okay.
Or yes, of course that no person should ever condone. But
then don't read it.
Yeah, but then for our people who are going to seriously stop watching a bowler for the Monogatari series, for when they don't receive the value worth in the anime, that for that things are possessed when we're talking about our themes, and how for one person or whoever doesn't see themselves or worth any value or trying to find purpose or worth in his life.
All right, is your question here because that one manga or anime has something in relation to that? Should or should we not support it? Is that what you're asking?
Right here, I'm just saying this, or for Cuties, of course, something that we condone, and of course, where that are different ways to here for the age of consent is that yes, of course, we should obviously not condone it, but for in other countries that where the age of consent is very murky.
I'm not a moral relativist, so that has absolutely no interest of discussion for me.
Right. So I'm just saying this here is that, yes, I agree with MisAnthro Pony here for discussion where that he had talking about Cuties, and for where Black Critic Guy obviously, of course, went, for very much so across the line here for when or for liking this film. But for saying for these sort of topics, it can get very, very murky because there are countries that do this sort of stuff that we don't condone, but as obviously, of course, okay by now.
Here's the thing. Again, because I'm not a moral relativist, I don't say that it's murky because other countries have different values. It doesn't matter to me if another country has different value X, Y, Z. And specifically because you brought up Japan, let me go ahead and go back there. Japan was able to go from literal medieval tech, we're talking about katana sword or yari spear, to a industrialized modern military within 40 years. If you're going to try to argue that their moral standards should be different now, I'm not going to buy into that. I'm not a moral relativist. I don't think that something should be okay within one country's borders in terms of moral value, but not in another one. So no, I reject that sort of argumentation. I reject that sort of ideology. What's wrong is wrong regardless of what country you're from.
Yeah, I know we're trying to argue for moral relativity. I'm just saying we're taking a look for one country's content and try to understand for what their moral lens.
Oh, I understand what their moral lens is. My point is I reject it because it's irrelevant, because it's still wrong.
And of course, I agree with you. We all know that is wrong, but does a character need or to necessarily be defined by it? That's the question.
What do you mean defined by it?
Is because there are people who obviously, of course, watch these reactionary videos from the anime, but they don't know wherever the context behind it. And all of a sudden they presume whereby, that this character is a pedophile. That we should immediately try and cancel it. But, of course, they need to watch this in context in order to understand it.
I don't necessarily think that's a good argument to make, nor do I think that's an accurate statement to make. I don't need to know context to know if a kid being diddled is bad. I don't need to know context to know if sexualizing a child is wrong. Either way, it's wrong. Now, if you want to argue about context in terms of story progression, let me give you an example. Since I read Berserk, there is a scene in Berserk that talks about Guts' life where he, by his abusive stepdad, is sold to a man for a night when Guts is a child. That's not played for laughs. It is not played as a good thing. And in the very next morning, Guts winds up killing the guy who molested him as a kid. That is a bit different because it's telling you this is wrong and the guy died for it. The context you're referring to doesn't do that.
Well, for my personal things right here is that, of course, that we don't disagree because, of course, we don't condone it. But that's sort of given nature to be as we're talking about with problematic media. Of course, Keys is without a doubt problematic media. And, of course, that we should not condone for what happened in that film. But for the people who have... this is a problem where with cancel culture as a whole. For when that people were to take over that one thing and they all of a sudden were that they don't condone of it and immediately where that person were to be canceled. One, you don't know where that person or that you were claiming or to be such and such. Two, forever that you know we're given the reasoning behind or upon these things. And three, who are you over to judge over because you're a person who's given with a social media account. You're not aware of a lawyer. So, and that's wherever this the
it
problem.
Doesn't hold on. First and foremost, I am not the person you want to start arguing against cancel culture for because I expose predators publicly. So that's not something an argument you want to make for me. Secondly, as far as who are you to judge, that can easily be returned right back onto you for complaining about cancel culture. Who are you to complain about that? hate to tell you this, everybody has their own value system, and everybody else judges other people's values, other people's actions, regardless of if it's a large scale like social media or a smaller scale is in an internal thought. You're not making much of an argument here, and it's not a very coherent one. You reaffirming over and over again that we agree that Cuties is bad, but then pivoting and talking about the moral subjectivity of other countries is not helping your case here. Do you have anything else to say about this film?
Right here, yes. Then, of course, is that for what's also equally incriminating about Cuties is that it's done or by a woman of color. And that's something where that people should obviously take a look at when that films that were done by a woman of color, and that where people were trying to say it was art or because it's done by a woman of color, it's like, no. And that's the type of line that we need to draw for when it comes toward double standards. Just because it's done by a woman of color does not in order to make it right there also.
I agree, but let's go ahead and move you back to stream chat, and we'll move somebody else in here.
Hey, sorry, is the guy still there?
He is.
Yeah, I'm still here, MisAnthro.
Right. Well, I can see that you were pretty passionate about this whole thing. I can tell you had a lot to say. And I noticed that you brought up cancel culture several times, and the problematic themes of, how we have to cancel this person now because he did this one bad thing. That's what you were talking about, right?
Here, yes. As in, good sir.
All right. Well, let me try to help you have a better understanding of where we're coming from.
Yeah,
now,
right.
I can understand why people would not be accepting of cancel culture, because it can be taken to very, very unnecessary and serious extremes. Like, you did this one bad thing, even though it was years ago, when you have apologized for it, and you don't think that way anymore. No, we have to get rid of you. We have to kick you off the internet. You deserve to lose everything and not be a celebrity anymore. Yeah. I can understand people taking that to an extreme, and I can understand why you would look down on that. However, you really have to think about what Netflix did here. This isn't just some mistake. They didn't just make, they just made an oopsie. They just supported one bad movie. This was softcore CP. There is no refuting the content within the film. They endorsed it, they defended it, they supported it. They said that it was misunderstood and stood by Monado Koei's decision to make this movie and exploit kids at the expense of the trauma that these child actors could end up going through when they get older and they start to know better and look back on this and realize, wait a minute. What was done to me in the making of this movie is wrong, and that can have very, very bad repercussions on their mental health. And a couple of people have been talking about this to me in the comment section of my newest video. You saw it. Like, there are people really concerned for what could happen or become of the child actors when they get older and they think more about what happened to them. And when that time comes, I hope that they get the help that they need. So with all that said, I absolutely support the notion of canceling Netflix and seeing everyone subscribe to them, canceling their subscriptions. And unless they're willing to admit that what they did was wrong and apologize for it, I would feel a great sense of catharsis of watching them go out of business, because what they did was 100% unacceptable. Cancel culture is when people are making a huge fuss out of something that isn't a big deal. Sexualizing and exploiting minors is not included in that.
Yeah, right. Of course, I obviously agree, and of course, for we're definitely understanding when Netflix is scummy, and the people who have endorsed that shit, or seriously, definitely you need a to go die in a fire. But I'm just saying, for certain lines where it can get very murky, or that's all I'm trying to say here. So, okay. Thanks for guys for letting me on, so I'm going to head off here. Thank you guys very much.
All right, let's go ahead and move you out. And
Thank you for coming on the stream.
We're going to move him back to waiting room. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and bring, let's see here, since I lost track of who shows up where. Let me see here if Coyote is still active in that chat. Coyote is no longer active, which means he got bored. So let me see here. I'll go ahead and bring Sega Sister in.
Oh, Sega Sister.
It'll probably take her a minute to
an
realize.
old friend.
It's going to take her a minute to realize that she's in here, so. Real quick, to those of you who are hopping in the channel or in the Discord server, you need to know two things. Number one, read the rules. And number two, if you are a minor, you need to tell people so we can give you the proper role. Also, behave or I will crush you. Let me DM her.
So is she doing all right? Is she getting in yet?
I just DM'd her saying you're up. So we'll see if she sees it. Oh, Lord.
There we go.
There you are.
Hey, Sega.
Hey, MisAnthro. Hey, Leo.
How's it going?
Oh,
So,
hey, maybe I'm just being a little, maybe it's my inner child, but do you want to say hi to Voice of Reason while you're up here? You could be watching.
He's sleeping right now.
that's a no then. All right.
Anyway,
So what are your thoughts
yeah.
here, Sega?
This movie. Blah. Honestly, I kind of sort of get where the director of this movie is coming from. She wants to address the exploitation of children, but she just went about it in the worst way. And I've seen some people defend this movie simply because the director happens to be a woman. She also happens to be black, and she also happens to be Muslim.
All right. Well, what are your other thoughts here?
This movie is just vile. I didn't need to see the movie to know it was just vile. Like, I'd rather not mention certain scenes because this will probably get you demonetized, MisAnthro.
Oh, don't worry, I'm not monetizing the stream.
Okay, good. I mean, I get you were monetizing the other video because you wanna make all proceeds made towards that video to a charity.
The donation that was in the description, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Thankfully, out of most people I've seen talk this movie, the majority are saying, yeah, this film is disgusting. Netflix, why did you distribute it? Oh, and this film actually got a Sundance Award, too.
Well, it doesn't surprise me. Sundance is filled with a bunch of garbage, so.
Yeah.
And one of the founders of Sundance was arrested for, I don't remember what it was, for possession of child porn, or it was abusing a minor. Anyway, it was one of those crimes or something related to that.
That does not surprise me in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, and what was it? When did this film premiered? Like, I know it premiered on Netflix in
September 9th.
September, and this debuted in January at the Sundance Festival, and 7 months later in its country of origin of France. And the girls are the girls are 11.
Yep. It's
And
all
Francis
garbage.
consent is 15.
It's all garbage, and it's all child exploitation, one way or another.
Yeah. And some of the backlash I've heard against the backlash, like, oh, you're upset about a French film. Why don't you talk about toddlers and tiaras or dance moms? We do.
Oh, that classic excuse.
Well, here's the thing. What you both need to understand is what that's called a fallacy of relative privation. And what that means is their argument they're making is, well, you shouldn't talk about this without talking about what my preferred talking point is. That's a logical fallacy for a reason. You can talk about whatever you want. If these people have such an issue with you talking about cuties, but you don't talk about the other things, then, well, YouTube's a free platform. They can talk about those other things whenever they want to.
Yeah. And I thought that was just whataboutism.
Whataboutism and fallacy of relative privation. You can be more than one thing in terms of fallacy.
Yeah.
But it looks like that ghost guy finally got his stuff up and running.
Oh, yay. Good for him.
Good. You have anything else to say about the subject, Sega?
Honestly, I don't think this, well, like, I do have a question. Is there a way to pull this off? Like, discussing, like, making a film like this, but without, exploiting kids.
Yeah, like I said earlier, dealing with child molestation, Ghostbusters and several other 80s cartoons did allegories to those things. Comics have for years now. Actually, a lead up to the 2007 CGI TMNT film, there was an issue where Leonardo... go ahead.
And sorry.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just like... Sorry, I don't want to feel like I'm interrupting anything. Did you want to finish?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and finish. Where Leonardo had to stop child sex traffickers, and of course he did it. He did it in the correct, proper way. He cut them all down, literally. So, yeah, there are ways to do it.
Mm-hmm. There, you can also do a document. You can also do a documentary because apparently, Mayamuna, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Apparently, she based this off of her own childhood. I mean, if that were the case, why not set it in the 90s? Why not make it a docudrama? Or hell, your points of cartoons and comics that this better. I mean, they didn't. Probably the reason why those are better because they're not exploiting actual kids. I mean, they can just have adults voicing the children. And no child is actually exploited. I mean, it's kind of sad when cartoons directed towards kids can handle this better than somebody whose entire purpose of this movie is to just highlight the thing.
All right, that's fair.
And do you want to know? There was something I wanted to add to this. You were talking about how this could have been done better without actually exploiting children, and I wanted to throw in my sense in this.
Okay.
Long time ago, I don't remember what exactly it was. I don't know what the name of the show was, what station it was airing on. It was a sitcom. Maybe it could have been Nickelodeon or Disney Channel. No, definitely not, but whatever. I scarcely remember because my memory can be really mysterious sometimes. There was an episode of a show where these two kids are called in by this guy to do photo ops.
It was
pictures of them.
You were right, it was a Disney Channel show.
So they're doing the photo op, and the guy is talking about how he wants to take pictures of them surfing, and then it gets to a really uncomfortable place when he starts discussing the children removing their clothes, and the kids immediately start to pick up the clues like, okay, this guy is a freak and we need to get out of here. And later on in the episode, the guy is convicted and arrested. Boom, you managed to send the message that sexualizing kids is bad without actually sexualizing kids.
Tricky People did this as well. It was a PSA that was released in the 90s that was all about Tricky People, and the quote and the bad guy of this it wasn't officially stated or explicitly seen, but it's heavily implied that this dude would molest, and that's putting it lightly, would molest young girls that he would do photo shoots of. And apparently he had explicit photos of one of the girls, and he's using that to blackmail her.
Mm-hmm. Now, while this is an interesting discussion, we have 16 other people waiting, so we're going to go ahead and bring Ghost in. Thank you for your time, Sega Sister.
Thank you for letting me on.
Sure, I'm going to kick you back to stream waiting room. I'm going to go ahead and move Ghost back in here.
Oh, she's gone. I forgot to say thanks to her.
It's all right. I'm sure she will literally hear it on the stream, so.
Oh, thank you, Sega Sister. Oh, someone in the chat is saying South Park The Stick of Truth did that as well. Oh my god. Like, as much as I like that game, like, yeah, they also did that because you actually get to beat the shit out of the pedophile. Nice. I loved that.
Ghost, you're going to have to undeafen yourself. Why am I saying that? You can't hear me. Hold on. Let's see here. Where is he? There you are. Hold on. Come on.
Are you coming in?
He's deafened himself, so he can't hear us talk.
Oh, hello, guys.
There you are. Okay, so what are your thoughts here now that you've got everything worked out?
Well, I don't. In particular, I really have a lot to say on the subject, but I really don't want to take too much time.
All right, that's appreciated because we got a lot of people to go through here. So go ahead and speak your mind.
I guess I should say, I was already on edge when I first seen the poster about it because, there was already a situation going on Twitter with maps, if you this.
I'm aware of them, yeah.
And then I see this movie and it's like, this really is what it's gonna be? Like, is it gonna be what it said on paper by the poster? And being the person I am, I was just, I decided to give it the benefit of the doubt. Maybe it's not what it says. I was one of the more or less unfortunate people to have to watch a few clips of the film, and I was disgusted. I really felt I felt so sick. And it makes it even worse knowing that I was considering getting Netflix, but now that they have Cuties on its platform, I cannot support them. I just can't. Honestly, like I'm pretty sure most people said, honestly, Netflix just needs to go out of business for this. Like, what was going through their heads? Like, were they thinking?
They probably thought that they were being very progressive in this, and I don't mean that as in the political way. I mean it as in the artistic way. I would hope Netflix would either have a major shake-up and restart themselves from a business practice or shut down on this because this is just plain gross. Do you have anything else to say about the film?
All I should say is that, like many other people, honestly, there's much better ways to execute, like, the message of not sexualizing children, and, I think the little subplot with, I guess the main character, I mean, it had a little bit of good writing, I guess. I enjoyed, like, a little bit of it, but honestly, it just blows the message and everything out of the water the moment they do that. They filmed all of that, and they felt nothing wrong with that. Like, ugh, it's not a flop or a mistake to just look over. It's just wrong. It's just so wrong. I mean,
I agree.
What else is there to? Yeah, I mean, I don't mean to get too personal here or try to get sympathy points or whatever, but well, not me directly. I had a little sister who actually was a victim of that sort of trauma, and I had to, look after her for a bit, and I basically, I showed this whole entire film to my family, and they were disgusted with all of the past trauma we've been through. I mean, I think I don't know how to really say his name. I'm sorry if I messed this up, but Mr. Anthony, when he said that in his video, it really did really it really made me freaking it made my point stand out much better when he said that video. I'll just say that because I was one of those people that was affected by that myself too.
I'm very
But,
sorry
yeah.
that happened to you.
It's okay. It happened a while ago, but yeah, honestly, I just like you. I don't know. Like, I honestly, if you ask me, if you really ask me what should happen to Netflix for what they did, honestly, they should just, I don't know, something legal needs to get happen against them. And I'll also say this: I don't care like what age consent is if it's lowered in different states. It's still wrong, and there's nothing that can justify it. There's nothing that can justify it. Absolutely nothing.
I agree, but unfortunately, we're out of time for you, so we're going to go ahead and kick you back to the normal chat, and we'll bring somebody else in. Thank you for joining us.
Okay.
Part of the show,
Thank you
dude.
for having me.
All right, now I'm going to go ahead and pull in Mike is cool since he's been waiting for so long. Welcome to the stream, Mike is cool. You are live with MisAnthro Pony and Lio Convoy. What are your thoughts here?
So,
If you can unmute yourself.
you okay?
Mike is cool. Are you live? Alpha and Omega fanboy. All right, since he ain't responding, let's go ahead and move somebody else in for now. Let's go ahead and move in Silver Zionic. Welcome, Silver. You are live with MisAnthro Pony and Lio Convoy. How you doing?
So,
Hi. So before we begin, I just want to make sure you guys can hear me.
Yep,
Can you guys hear me?
We can hear you just fine.
All right, thanks. Just want to make sure because like my left earbud is like completely dead, so sometimes you can't tell if my mic is picking up anything or not.
That's fine. Go ahead and tell us what you're thinking here.
All right, so of course, as like every sane human being on the planet, I didn't bother watching this movie, and I'm never gonna watch this movie because of like regardless of its message, the fact that they're sexualizing kids, their message is literally just null and void. Like it doesn't matter what the message is, what they were trying to say. The moment they committed the act they claim to be against, their message is just null and void. Like period. And my biggest issue is the fact that people are saying that, oh well, you know, you guys have a problem with like something like cuties, but you don't say anything about like, you know, toddlers and tiaras or anything like that. When I'm just sitting here like, no, we've talked about that too. Literally anything that has to do with like exploiting or sexualizing kids in any way, no matter how minor. Tons of people have spoken up about that, are speaking up about that, and will continue to speak up on that because just the act of what they do to kids, like exploiting kids in any way, is never ever going to be tolerated in society, no matter what. And even with like the rise of the pedo community, I'm not going to call them the map community because I'm not going to give the satisfaction of like, you know, their little nickname or anything like that because it's the pedo community. Like even with the rise of that, like it's never going to be tolerated. This movie isn't going to be tolerated. It's just, and I'm just very passionate about this sort of thing too. So it's like, it's kind of hard for me to like speak clearly. Like basically what I'm trying to say is that that society is never going to be okay with this. Like the overall society is never going to be okay with this, no matter how many people try to defend this garbage dump of a movie.
All right. Anything else?
I really hope it stays that way.
Yeah, I hope so too. But I have faith, and I try to keep that faith, even when things seem very dark, considering what year we're in. Like I'm not. I'm gonna try to stay optimistic. I'm gonna try to keep the faith. You know what I mean?
Sure. Hold on.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. That's really all I had to say. I didn't think I would actually be able to live stream so soon because it, I have no idea. I'm sorry. I get nervous.
It's all right.
So
So
it's like,
thank you for your time. We're going to go ahead and move you back into stream chat so we can bring other people in here, and we will catch you next time.
For being
All right.
part of the show, dude.
All right.
all right. Thank you for having me.
All right. So moving back to all right. So going forward, as much as I hate to do it, we're going to have to put a timer on people here. So I'm going to give everybody 1.5 minutes because we have 20 people now there that are waiting, and I'd like to get to all of them if we can here. If I give them longer than that, we will be here for literally 2 hours. So let's go ahead and do this.
Yeah.
All right. So now Coyote.
So I want to apologize in advance for everyone who's joining now because it's a little bit unfair to the people who were here earlier and got more time to talk.
Sorry about that. That was a logistics issue. But let's go ahead and bring in Coyote. Coyote, you know who you are. You know who we are. You know what's being discussed. So how it be, what it do.
Hey, what's up? So I don't know if you guys brought this up yet, but I was actually looking up some interesting facts about the movie Cuties now that I've seen this live stream going on. And there's something interesting that I noticed, which is that the show itself, or the fucking movie, I guess, whatever, Trash Fire, it wasn't like commissioned by Netflix. It was actually like the international debut was on Netflix, but it originally aired, in France. Like I think that's been mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things that I noticed was the way that Netflix happens to sort of, get licensing for this kind of shit. And with that, it's basically they go to the person who's already got the product and get licensing to stream it on their service. So they did debut it internationally, but there were a lot of people who had to look at this product beforehand and think, yeah, this is what needs to be shown to everyone in the world. I think that's really, really entertaining when you look at it that way. Because especially when you factor in that this came out in 2020, in a year that they knew were not going to be very many movie releases. It's like they really just wanted to get anything out there to try to turn a buck because they knew there weren't going to be very many movies. So it's like, when you look at it that way, it's like Netflix literally just sold this borderline fucking child prostitution to everybody to turn a profit. That's fucked up, right?
Absolutely.
The only one who thinks that. Like, it would be bad enough if they had commissioned this themselves, which they do that with Netflix originals, but it seems to be in some ways even worse that they actually used the situation going on in 2020 and looked at this and being like, yeah, we need to get something out there, and they just decided to not commission this, but buy the licensing to get this internationally debuted so they could turn a profit.
All right.
It's fucking weird, right?
It is, but unfortunately, because we had to put a time limit on people, we're going to have to cut you loose on this one. I want to bring in somebody that we can beat around a little bit. So thank you for your time, Coyote. Thank you for your time, Coyote.
That's why I cut the point. I'll see you later.
Later. Let me go ahead and move him out like the boomerang. All right, so we have somebody here who apparently wants to try to defend Cuties. So let's have a little bit of fun. Let's see if I can find this person. Yeah, apparently we have somebody who wants to try to defend it. Let me see. There they are. Let me move them in. All right, you know who we are. You know what's going on here. And as soon as you start talking, you'll have 1 minute and 30 seconds. You ready?
I'm ready. Okay, first of all, I think Cuties was a really bad movie. And I think they should have done like the same movie, but like with obviously girls that are like 17 to 18-year-olds. And I think that it provides like a critique of Islam and criticism and traditionalism in Islam and how women are treated. And I think that we should like stop sort of like criticizing this movie because it wasn't created for the whole purpose of pedophilia. Like a pedophile didn't create it. The first black French director actually directed this movie, and it was an accomplishment. So this wasn't like a movie created by like Redditors or Discord mods or whatever.
All right. Here's my counter argument. It doesn't matter if it was intended to be a pedo film. You still sexualized children in it. You still casted children to be sexualized in it. And you still put it out there with sexualized children. Regardless of intent, the outcome is what it is. And as such, the movie should be condemned.
Yeah, I think it should be condemned, but like I think that it should be sort of like reformed. Like the same idea should be reformed. Like
Oh, nobody's hold on. Nobody's arguing that these things shouldn't be talked about or exposed. The problem is how they went about doing it. So on that we agree.
Okay, cool.
Right.
Because
We
like a
keep
lot of
trying to tell people the problem isn't the message; it's how that message is being delivered to people.
yes, I totally agree that like children should be kept out of the media and so on and so forth. But like I think that this sort of like this movie has sort of blocked like the message. Like if somebody tries to make a movie like similar to this with the same like narrative, I don't know if narrative is the correct word to say, but like I think this movie has ruined like future movies that are trying to do the same thing, because it was obviously like a horrible movie, but like I think other movies can like employ the same idea to talk about the same idea, the criticize the same things. And I think if another director were to try that, people would think back to Cuties and be like, oh, that sort of like confirmation bias, like so and so happened and so was this, that sort of thing.
All right. Well, we went ahead and ran out of time for you, so we're going to go ahead and kick you out. Thank you for joining us, and we'll catch you next time.
Okay, cool. Peace.
All right. So move.
I think the only solution that I can offer to that problem is that the next person who tries to make a movie like that don't exploit minors in the process of making your movie.
I agree. So let's go ahead and bring in Grand Dark. They've been waiting for quite some time here, and hopefully we'll be able to get to everybody, but I can't promise that. So, all right, Grand Dark, you know who you are, you know who we are, and let's go. It's going to take Grand Dark 30 seconds to realize we're here.
Oh, man, you gotta get in. There's a time limit.
It's all right. We'll wait for her. She's been very patient. Hold on. Maybe if I tag her. We'll give it another 10 seconds, and if that don't work, we got to move on. All right, well, got to kick her out. Maybe we'll bring her back later. All right, so let's go ahead and bring in Jack Spade. Hopefully he's paying attention. Jack, you know where you are. You know who we are. Let's go ahead and get into this.
Hello. Oh no, another one.
Well, we'll do the typical. We're going to give him 10 seconds. And unfortunately, that's the 10 seconds. So we're moving him back to stream waiting room. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and bring in AJ. All right, AJ, you know who you are. You know who we are. Let's get down to this. What are your thoughts?
J Pony?
Yep.
Okay.
AJ.
Hey, Missy. Been a while since I've been on the channel. Can you guys hear me all right?
We can hear you just fine.
Yeah. How you doing, dude?
Just fine. I see you've had quite a productive, busy week, Miss. And Leo, pleasure to be on a more positive side of one of these. But anyways, enough time. I don't want to keep people waiting. I got one of two things. I'll do my first one, then if I have time, I'll go to the second one. Basically, you remember that tweet with that one guy you collabed on that Jurassic World where you played the Indoraptor, Missy? He on Twitter in your tweet mentioned that Proud Family episode. You remember that one where the girls were all sexualized?
Oh yeah, I remember. I interacted with that tweet and I'm like, oh my god, Disney actually took a shot at pedos.
Hey, I thought for here we just probably expand on that a bit more, saw its opinions if it came out today or whatnot, just more than what we could have done on Twitter with the limited time we got. You got any immediate thoughts on that? One thing I will say, it is better than Cuties, obviously.
Here's the thing, I can't exactly have an opinion on that episode of The Proud Family because I have obviously not seen that show in a very long time. And I'm just seeing that one clip without context of the rest of the episode. I would have to go back and see what the episode's actually about in order to get a full thesis. But I can imagine that they probably did it a lot better.
And yeah, I did. I actually do remember the episode, or at least how it ended. It kind of ended with the girls, the father then disappointed, saying, "No, they can't do this." And I don't remember how they explained that it was wrong, but it was. They then tried to sneak out in a party wearing the outfit, kind of got caught and busted. But then I remember in the very, very ending, one of the girls was still wearing their sexualized outfit under their regular outfit. That was more the basic premise of how I kind of remember it.
Gotcha. Well, unfortunately, we're out of time for you, AJ. Feel free to stick around the server. I wish you nothing but good luck in the server. So we're going to go ahead and move somebody else in. Let's see here. Thank you for joining
for
us.
being in the show, dude.
All right. So let's go with somebody with a inciting name.
Oh!
MisAnthro Pony, you know who you are. You know who we are. Let's get down to this. What are your thoughts?
Yes.
Oh, wait, who?
Sorry. All right. So, my only real opinion about the movie is, all right. So, I just saw it for like I'm sorry. I'm hearing a bunch of noises. Sorry. Fuck. So I just saw it the first time, and I was like, "Oh, there's like fucking softcore CP on." Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, alright. The first time I saw it, I was just like, "Oh hey, they have like softcore CP on Netflix, whatever," and then I blocked the whole thing on my cautious.
Okay, then. Any other thoughts?
No, not really. Shoutouts to Mickey Mouse. Bye.
Okie dokie. We'll move you out of this.
Okay.
We'll move you out of this.
Sorry for being super awkward.
All right.
I didn't really expect this.
Dude, I've interacted with enough bronies to expect it at this point, but you have a good night. All right, time to move somebody else here. I think that Grand Dark is back, so let's go ahead and try her again. Grand Dark, you are yet again live. You know who you are, you know who we are, so let's get down to this.
Oh.
God dang it. Let's see here. All right, I know they're actively watching, so let's see here. There you are. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right, yeah, we can hear you just fine. So go ahead and give us your thoughts.
Well, first I wanted to say hello, Mr. MisAnthro Pony. I'm a big fan of your work. I started by watching Last of Us 2 stuff, but besides that, I first heard about Cuties from, I think it was through a Discord server that I was in, and I was just looking at it with my friends, and I thought, oh, this can't be real. And then I was seeing clips of it online, and everything was just like, I can't believe this is real. I can't believe Netflix, of all places, would publish something like this. And so I think, just to get everything out of the way, because I don't want to hold you guys here for so long, my question is, what do you think will happen to Netflix from here on out? Because for me personally, I've basically given up on ever giving them my money, ever, for anything.
Oh, I will tell you one thing. I'm not exactly sure what will happen for certain, but I can tell you right now that Netflix is suffering very deeply from this. They lost billions of dollars in one day and continue to lose a lot of money. They've lost millions of subscribers. And as I said in my video, they're trying to make up for this by increasing the money that you have to pay for standard and premium plans. So I find it a little bit suspicious that they're pulling this stunt immediately after their stance on Cuties. This cannot just be a coincidence.
I think they're trying to appeal to their, diehard consumer fans and all those other things. But my other question was also going to be, I've seen that a lot of people that try and defend this film either haven't seen it or just, the wrong kinds of people, quote unquote. I feel like I'm giving them too much credit by calling them that. But
If you're
How do
defending the
you-
movie when you haven't seen it, you don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, but I was also gonna say, how do you feel about those kinds of people? Because I feel like they should be put on a watch list of sorts. Analyzed for further use, for further investigation and whatnot.
Well, we don't really know, unfortunately, but also, unfortunately, we're out of time for you. Thank you for your input, and we'll catch you next time.
All right.
All right.
Thanks for being part of the show.
Yep, that person will definitely hear. Let's go ahead and bring in Yugi Brony, since I think I recognize that name.
Oh, another old friend.
Of yours. Yugi Brony, you know who we are, you know where you are, you know who you are. So let's go ahead and do this.
Hi, how are you?
Angry, how about you?
Yeah, me too. MisAnthro Pony, I just wanted to say I really liked your video. I think you've spoken very well about how we all feel about this movie.
Thank you very much.
Like, one thing, like, I mentioned this in the comments section, that the CEO of Netflix, they're being stubborn about keeping this movie onto their platform. And I just don't understand why that is.
Maybe it's because they're a bunch of idiots who don't know the difference between coming of age and softcore CP.
No, I can actually explain that very easily. Because they're a corporation, it drives a form of discussion, and it drives people's interest in looking it up and feeding algorithms, and it gets them pressed. No, there's an old saying that, any publicity is good publicity. That's all that comes down to.
Yeah, I don't.
That's why. Let's see here. Goodness. You getting fussed at over there? All right, then. I think Yugi's dead.
Sorry, I'm back.
It's all right.
I did do something real quick.
Okay, so
I'm terribly sorry. I just had a conversation with someone in the house. I had to mute myself.
Oh,
yeah, me too.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for your time, Yugi.
No.
Unfortunately, we're out of time for you. So before you go, just want to say,
I had a question.
Sure, go ahead, shoot out real quick.
Did you by any chance talk to Black Critic Guy in this stream?
No,
No.
he hasn't even showed up. So.
Okay then.
All right, real quick before I let you go, Brony Buck is right. Solve all your problems with violence. Boom, kicking him out there. All right, so who do we want to bring in next here? Let's see. Oh, Mike is cool. Said he wanted to be next. We're not going to be able to get to everybody. There's way too many people. So let's see here. Move you into streaming. All right, Mike is cool. You know who you are, you know who we are, and you know where you are. So let's go ahead and get on with it.
But all you got.
Oh, are we live?
Yes, we're live.
Hold on, just let me put. Okay, there we go. Much better.
What?
Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Please be aware for the first thing. I might get a little bit anxious when live streaming because sometimes I may say something that might be offensive or might be incorrect. So please forgive me if that happens.
That's fine. You're just on a time limit, so keep that in mind.
Alrighty then. Okay, so I'd like to say that this film looks disgusting. I honestly never watched Cuties myself because I've seen other YouTubers' reviews on it and they said it sucked. There was a series that I thought was also disgusting called Don't F With Cats, and it was basically I'm sorry if I'm going to bring this up for animal lovers. The series is about like a killer who posted up on YouTube like a disgusting video of a guy who puts kittens in a vacuum sealed bag, and he
I'm aware. I'm aware. You don't need to go into detail. You don't need to go into detail about that at all. Get to your point, please.
Sorry. So yeah, Netflix can make disgusting content every so often. Sorry for bringing up the description of the documentary.
Don't apologize. Just be better. Is there anything else you'd like to say here? Because we're pretty much out of time for you.
Sorry, but nothing else.
Okay.
Thank you very so much.
No problem. Let's go ahead and move you back out to... Okay, I guess that works. We have time enough to bring in 5 more people because, if we try to bring in everybody, we're going to be here for 3 hours, even with a minute and 30-second time limit. So let's go ahead and bring in this lad. Autismus Prime. You know who you are, you know who we are, and you know where you are. So let's go ahead and begin here. Can you hear us, and are you alive now? I think I recognize him. Hey, he's on my friends list. Give it 10 seconds. And he's not responding, so back to the cavalcade he goes. Hold on here. What's going on? Okay, so let me see here. Let's go ahead and bring in Jack Spade. All right, Jack, you know who you are, you know who we are, and you know where you are. So let's go ahead and get this going. You there?
Bet all you got.
All right, we'll give him 10 seconds to respond. There he is. All right.
You don't hear me?
Yeah.
Hey, you don't hear me?
Yep, we can hear you. Go ahead. Starting the timer now. You got a minute, 30 seconds. Go.
Hold on. What? Damn it! Not now. Hold on. Hold on. My parents are calling me. God damn it! Hold on. I'm gonna have to jump in some other time. Shit.
Sure.
Sorry about that.
All right, move you back to the waiting room. We're going to bring in some other guy who just DM'd me and asked to be brought in. Apparently he's short on time, so give me a second here. Let me find him. Jammy Lemmy, you are live. You know who you are, you know who we are, and you know where you are. Let's get this going. You got a minute, 30 seconds. Jammy, you literally DM'd me.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. All right, so I'm starting yes, we can hear you. I'm starting your timer now. You got a minute, 30 seconds. Go.
All right. So I have a couple points real quick. First is that a lot of people asked how Netflix or why Netflix did this. And what a lot of people seem to be forgetting is they already had CP on their platform. Does anybody remember Big Mouth?
I do, and I didn't care for it when I heard about it. It
essentially skirted. It essentially skirted the child pornography laws of the U.S. Because all the kids looked like fish or frogs.
Yeah, I'm aware. Didn't care for it then either.
Yeah, so there was a big outrage about that too, and then everybody just sort of stopped caring. So that's how I figure, they thought they were going to get away with it. Netflix in general has just been posting a lot of risque, content that I don't think is very, very well thought out.
Mm-hmm. I don't disagree. Is there anything else for us?
Oh, I just want to say I've been watching you for a while, MisAnthro Pony. Thank you for having me on the stream. And, yeah. Thank you.
All right, killer.
Well, you're welcome. Thank you for being part of the show.
If I may comment real quickly, I'm gonna kill the link here in a second. There's just
go ahead and kill it now. It's fine.
Kill it now. Okay, kill it now. All right, thank God.
He's getting a little overwhelmed here, but let's go ahead and bring in a couple more people here. Diva would like to be brought in, so I'm going to go ahead and bring Diva in. And after Diva, we'll bring in 2 more people, and then we'll have to be done here because we don't have time for all night. Diva, you requested to be on, so you are now on. You know who you are, you know who we are, you know where you are, so let's get this done.
I just wanted to come in and quickly say thank you for doing this, and I also wanted to quickly come in and say I actually know someone who's been sexually abused, and this movie brought up a lot of things that she would rather forget and for good rather than bring up.
I hope your friend is doing okay.
She's doing a lot better now. In fact, she's actually going through therapy and actually getting actual help.
Good.
And go on, sir.
I said good. Glad to hear it.
Thank you so much for doing this. And also, I've been watching your videos, Mr. Convoy. Thank you so much for making them.
Oh, you're welcome. I really wish that I could give you better content than what I'm capable of.
It's okay. Just do it. Just keep doing what you're doing. I love what you do.
Oh, I'm glad you enjoy it.
Anyway, okay. I'm grateful that I got to come on and
no problem.
And shall we say, step in and give her thoughts on the matter. And all Netflix has to do is take down the film, issue an official apology, and they could actually get some of their fan base back. But I'm quite shocked that they're still not doing this, and it just infuriates me that they're doing this.
Well, that's the way corporations
really
go.
Not that hard.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and move you back to the stream waiting room. Thank you for your time. We got 2 more people to bring in.
Thank you, and thank you so much.
Have a good night.
Have a good night. Have a good night.
Right.
All right, so we're going to bring in somebody who goes by the name of Jeelan. So let's go ahead and see if I can find them in this unholy pile of people. All right, Jeelan, you are live. What you got for us? I'm going to stab you, Jeelan. I'm going to stab you if you do not unmute. All right, typical move. 10 seconds. 10. There you are.
I'm here.
All right.
Okay, so yeah, I'm sorry.
You got a minute. You got a minute 30. Get on with it.
All right. First of all, your video, MisAnthro Pony, made me a big fan of your stuff. So yeah, to get to the point.
Thank you.
I think the reason why I think people have talked about this before. I think the reason why that Netflix hasn't removed Cuties is because I think Netflix is scared of being called out as being quote unquote racist because the fact that the creator is a black woman. Basically,
I think being accused of racism is worse than actually condoning and supporting softcore CP.
Yeah, that's basically it, and I don't agree with that at all. If that was the case,
the joys of the fact that corporations are not your friend.
Yep, and due to this, all these great shows like Agresco, BoJack Horseman, and Over the Moon are gonna suffer, especially Glitch Text too. There's one
that is honestly like the great tragedy in all this. There is actually some good stuff on Netflix, and now they're losing a lot of business, and a lot of people are not gonna watch that stuff.
Mm-hmm. It's a damn shame too, because like I said, Glitch Text is, like, in my opinion, the greatest show since SpongeBob SquarePants, in my opinion. So it is a huge tragedy. So
my advice is that you screen capture it if you're watching Netflix on your laptop, and then when you get everything you want, cancel your subscription to them.
Or just,
well,
or just pirate it.
Well, my mom is the one who's subscribing, so it doesn't really matter what I'm doing because my mom is the one that's subscribing. So, yeah. And
you're thinking of a way to explain this to your mother?
Oh yeah, you know what? I'll tell you this last thing. My mom did watch Netflix, and apparently she happened to like it. And then I even told, and then I had to ask to her, like, why did you like it in a sense? And then she gave me this weird answer to me. It's like, I even told her about the stuff that's been going on in that movie that she has saw, and she explained to me that, if my daughter would do this, I would have gave her like a beating or whatever, but apparently she just lost. She just didn't really care. Like I think the short answer to that is like my mom just didn't really care, unfortunately.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that, but unfortunately,
But I feel very sorry for you.
well, you can only do what you can do. Just don't watch it yourself, and sometimes it's best not to argue with people. Just know what you stand for and go on. But we're gonna have to kick you back to stream rating room. We got one more person to bring in, okay?
All right, thank you guys for bringing me in.
No problem. Have a good night.
Take care.
Now, personally, I would never beat my daughter, but I would definitely be grounding her for a very long time.
Well, I can't really comment on that because I don't have kids. But let me go ahead and find Even because I said I'd bring him in. He'll be our last guest. All right, Evan, you are our final guest, but the rules still apply. You know who you are, you know who we are, you know where you are. So let's get on with this.
All right. So is my mic too loud?
Nope,
am
you're
I
fine.
okay?
Let's do it.
All right. First off, I want to say thank you guys so much for doing this because the fact that this video, or no, not this video, this movie went through every single step to get onto Netflix, every approval, filming of approval, and even being fully approved by every single thing that was done to get this movie onto where it is now is appalling. And I'm so glad that you all are taking the time to do this and let people speak their opinion about how disgusting this film is. Thank you really so much for doing this.
You're welcome.
And I will want to say this as well. Every time I even see that somebody openly admits that they support this film and go as far as to say that they think that it's awesome, makes me want to, as a Christian, makes me wish I could go. I'd rather go to hell than stay on this earth. And that's coming from a freaking Christian. So I'm going to say this right now. If you're going to make a film that's supposed to be a coming of age story, and it's going to be something like this topic, you can do it by not sexualizing children. Maybe, let's say, have it be 18-year-olds or maybe even 20-year-olds if it was told in that perspective. Maybe the amount of hate that it's being given right now wouldn't be visible. Now, and the fact that they're doing it with 11-year-old girls is a pretty big fucking reason why people are so pissed off about it. And I'm disgusted by the fact that people will defend this film.
Trust me, I share so many of your feelings.
And I'm appalled. I'm appalled.
Makes me want to do things that, if I say them here, would get this video flagged big time.
Believe me, I know exactly how you feel. Every time. I saw the video of the guy who was saying that he's openly honest about reviewing about how these are kids and the other that they're, you know what? Every time. I just, as soon as I saw his intro, it screamed pedophile. It screamed pedophile.
All right.
And
unfortunately, we're going to have to cut you off here because we are beyond time. Thank you very much for your input, and we'll catch you around.
Thank you all so much, and thank you, Leon, and thank you, MisAnthro Pony, for doing this.
You're
welcome, dude.
All right, so that's as many people as we can take on for now. We've been doing this for like an hour or two by now. So, MisAnthro Pony, do you have any final statements concerning this stream today?
To say thank you for taking the time to come over to this stream. Thank you for listening to what we have to say. Thank you for taking the time to express your feelings on this situation. It's nice to know that regardless of where we come from and what we believe and what stuff we may be into that others may not be into, we can all agree and unite in this one simple fact that this movie is absolutely disgusting and it never should have been brought into the light of day.
I agree. But thank you very much for being willing to host the stream, MisAnthro Pony. I enjoyed chatting with you about this and the rest of the people. I'm sorry we couldn't get to everybody, but I didn't think that many people would join, so we got to as many people as we could. So if you don't mind, MisAnthro Pony, I can go ahead and kill the stream now. We thank you all for your support.
Thank you for coming on to the stream.
Have a good night, everyone.